I never thought my promotion celebration would end up being the night that changed everything. But standing in my parents' living room, watching their faces twist with dismissive amusement as I shared my news, I realized some achievements would never be enough for them. Senior project manager at Palmer Tech, I announced, trying to keep my voice steady despite their barely concealed smirks. The promotion comes with a significant raise and my own team. My mother, Diana, exchanged a knowing look with my father before taking another sip of her wine. "Oh, honey," she said in that condescending tone I'd grown to hate. "That's nice. But you're still just working for someone else." I'm Sarah Chen, 28 years old, and despite graduating top of my class in computer science and working my way up at one of the biggest tech companies in the city, my family had always seen my career choices as somehow lacking. My younger brother, Kevin, on the other hand, was their golden child, even though the string of failed startup attempts had cost them nearly $200,000 in family investments. "Mom's right," Kevin chimed in, sprawled lazily across our parents' expensive leather couch. "I mean, what's the point of killing yourself for some corporation? You should be building something of your own like me." I bit back the urge to remind him that his latest venture, a cryptocurrency for pet owners, had spectacularly crashed just 3 months ago. Instead, I focused on arranging the celebration snacks I brought, even though my family hadn't touched them. "Palmer Tech is one of the fastest growing companies in the industry," I said, more to myself than to them. "This promotion is a big deal." I beat out 15 other candidates. 15 other employees, my father corrected, emphasizing the word employees like it was something shameful. "Your brother is meeting with venture capitalists next week about his new AI-driven social media platform." Now that's real ambition. I caught my mother nodding enthusiastically. "Kevin says it could be worth millions within a year. You know, Sarah, he could probably find a position for you once it takes off. Something entry level, where you could learn the basics of real business." The suggestion hit like a slap. I'd spent 6 years building my career, earning every promotion through hard work and dedication. Meanwhile, Kevin had burned through enough of our parents' money to buy a small house, all while living rent-free in their pool house. "I appreciate the offer," I said carefully, "but I'm actually leading the development of a new project at Palmer. It's confidential, but—" "Confidential?" Kevin snorted, cutting me off. "You mean you're doing all the work while your bosses take the credit? That's how these big companies operate, sis. Trust me, I know the business world." I had to stop myself from laughing at that. Kevin's longest-lasting venture had survived exactly 8 months before collapsing under the weight of his mismanagement. But in my family's eyes, his repeated failures were somehow more admirable than my steady success. "I thought we could celebrate together," I said, gesturing to the gourmet cake I'd brought, their favorite from the expensive bakery across town. "Maybe have dinner as a family?" "Oh, sweetie," my mother sighed, checking her designer watch. "We actually have plans. Kevin has a meeting with some potential investors over dinner. Very exclusive restaurant, very important people." "You understand, don't you?" I did understand. I understood perfectly. This was far from the first time my achievements had been brushed aside in favor of Kevin's latest scheme. Last year, they'd skipped my industry award ceremony because Kevin had a crucial meeting that ended up being drinks with his college roommate about a potential app idea. "Sure," I said, gathering my things. "Of course. The cake's already paid for, so enjoy it later." "If you'd gone into business for yourself," my father called after me as I headed for the door, "maybe you'd be having dinner with investors too." I paused with my hand on the doorknob, 6 years of suppressed frustration threatening to spill over. You know what? Maybe if Kevin had actually worked for someone else first, he'd know how to run a business without losing hundreds of thousands of dollars. The room went silent. In our family, we never spoke about Kevin's failures. They were always reframed as learning experiences or stepping stones to success. "Now that's uncalled for," my mother said sharply. "Your brother takes risks. He has vision. What do you have? A cubicle and a boss telling you what to do." "I have stability," I shot back. "I have respect in my industry. I have a team that values my contributions. And for your information, I don't work in a cubicle. I have an office. A real one, with a door and everything." Kevin laughed, that smug sound that had always made me want to throw things. "An office? Wow, you've really made it, sis. Should we alert the media? Local woman gets slightly bigger box to work in. It'll be front page news. You know what? I didn't come here for your approval. I straightened my shoulders, remembering the words my mentor at Palmer Tech always used: own your success, even if others try to diminish it. I came because I thought my family might be proud of me. Clearly, I was wrong. We are proud, my father said, though his tone suggested otherwise. It's just, well, we always hoped you'd aim higher. Show more initiative. Be more like Kevin. I finished for him. Thanks, but I prefer not to bankrupt my parents. That's enough. My mother stood up, her face flushed with anger. Just because you're jealous of your brother's entrepreneurial spirit. Jealous? I couldn't help but laugh. Mom, I make more money in 3 months than Kevin's made in the last 3 years. I have a condo that I own, not a pool house I live in rent-free. I have a 401k health insurance and a savings account that isn't dependent on convincing my parents to invest in half-baked business ideas. Get out, Kevin said, finally standing up. If you're just going to come here and insult me. Gladly, I replied, pulling open the door. Oh, and Kevin, good luck with the AI social media platform. I'm sure it'll work out just as well as the pet cryptocurrency, the smart umbrella app, and the virtual reality dating service for introverts. I walked out before they could respond, letting the door slam behind me. The cool evening air hit my face, and I took a deep breath, trying to calm my racing heart. This wasn't how I'd imagined my celebration going, but then again, I should have known better. My phone buzzed in my pocket, probably my mother calling to lecture me about respecting Kevin's entrepreneurial journey. Instead, I saw a message from James Wong, the CEO of Palmer Tech. Sarah, heard about the family celebration. Mind if I stop by? Have some news you'll want to hear in person. Sending address now. I stared at the message in confusion. I'd only met James Wong twice, once during my initial interview 6 years ago and again briefly during last year's holiday party. How did he know about my family celebration? And what news could be so important that the CEO of a billion-dollar company wanted to deliver it personally? Before I could respond, another message came through with an address. An upscale restaurant downtown, the kind my family would approve of, ironically enough. Dinner's on the company, the message added. And Sarah, bring those project proposals you've been working on. The ones your direct supervisor said weren't ambitious enough. My heart skipped a beat. Those proposals, I'd spent months developing them in my free time. Alternative approaches to our main product line, potential new markets we could enter, innovations that could revolutionize how we operated. My immediate boss had dismissed them as unrealistic, telling me to stick to my assigned tasks. How did James Wong know about them? I looked back at my parents' house, where I could see them through the window, already gathered around Kevin with their usual adoring expressions. For a moment, I felt a familiar pang of hurt, the same pain I carried since childhood, always being the responsible one, the safe one, the disappointment. But something was different now. Maybe it was the anger still coursing through my veins, or maybe it was the mysterious message from James Wong. But suddenly I felt like I was standing on the edge of something big, something that would change everything. I got into my car, typed the restaurant's address into my GPS, and pulled out of my parents' driveway for what I didn't know would be the last time in a very long while. As I drove, I couldn't shake the feeling that this night wasn't going to end the way anyone expected, least of all my family. Little did I know just how right I was. The restaurant was exactly the type my parents would have approved of: dark wood, soft lighting, and waiters in crisp black uniforms. As I gave my name to the hostess, she immediately brightened. Ms. Chen, yes, Mr. Wong is expecting you. Please follow me. I clutched my laptop bag closer, feeling oddly nervous. Inside were the project proposals I'd worked on for months, ideas I poured my heart into only to have them dismissed. What did the CEO of Palmer Tech want with them? James Wong sat at a corner table, his usual impeccable suit at odds with his relaxed posture. He stood as I approached, offering a warm smile that contrasted sharply with my family's earlier sneers. Sarah, thank you for coming on such short notice, he said, gesturing for me to sit. I hope I didn't interrupt anything important. No, I replied, trying to keep the bitterness from my voice. The family celebration was wrapping up anyway. Something in his expression told me he knew more than he was letting on. A waiter appeared with water and menus, but Wong waved them away. We'll start with the 82 Bordeaux, he said, and let's have some privacy for the next hour. Once we were alone, he leaned forward. Sarah, do you know why I'm here? Honestly, no, I admitted. And I'm not sure how you knew about my family celebration or my project proposals. He smiled again, but this time there was something almost mischievous in it. Let's start with the celebration. Do you remember Lisa from HR? I nodded. Lisa had been at my performance review last week. She's your mother's cousin, isn't she? My stomach dropped. Yes, but I've never used that connection to your advantage. I know. In fact, Lisa told me how you specifically asked to be treated like any other employee. But she's been hearing things, Sarah, about how your family dismisses your achievements, about how they've invested hundreds of thousands in your brother's failed ventures while belittling your success. I felt my face grow hot. Mr. Wong, I never meant for my family situation to become workplace gossip. This isn't about gossip, he said firmly. It's about recognizing talent and drive. Which brings me to those project proposals. He reached into his briefcase and pulled out a familiar-looking document. My proposals, but printed and bound professionally with the Palmer Tech logo on the cover. Your direct supervisor, Mark Richards, has an interesting habit, Wong continued. He likes to take credit for his team's best ideas. Usually he gets away with it because most employees are too intimidated to speak up. But 3 months ago, he presented these proposals to the board as his own work. My head was spinning. Mark had stolen my proposals. The ones he told me were unrealistic. Unfortunately for Mark, I have a photographic memory, Wong said, a hint of steel entering his voice. And I distinctly remembered seeing these exact proposals in their early stages 6 months ago, when you were working on them late one night in the office. I'd forgotten my laptop charger and came back to find you totally absorbed in your work. You didn't even notice me, but I noticed what you were writing. I remembered that night. I'd stayed until almost midnight, fine-tuning my ideas, believing they could revolutionize our company. Then Mark had shut them down, and I tried to forget about them. Mark doesn't know that I know, Wong continued. He's scheduled to present these proposals to our biggest investors next week. He's been promising them something revolutionary. He paused, studying my face. How would you like to present them instead? For a moment, I couldn't speak. What? Your proposals, Sarah, are brilliant. The market analysis, the technical specifications, the implementation strategy, it's exactly what Palmer Tech needs to move into the next decade. But more than that, they show something crucial. You understand both the technical and business sides of our industry. That's rare. The waiter returned with the wine, pouring 2 glasses before discreetly disappearing again. Wong took a sip, then continued. I'm not just offering you the chance to present your work. I'm offering you Mark's job. Executive Vice President of Innovation and Strategy. Direct access to the board. A 7-figure salary with stock options. I nearly choked on my wine. Executive Vice President, but I'm only 28. You're brilliant, Wong cut in. You're hardworking. You see opportunities others miss. Age is irrelevant. Do you know how old I was when I started Palmer Tech? I shook my head. 24. Everyone said I was too young, too inexperienced. Now we're a billion-dollar company. He leaned back, swirling his wine. But there's more. Those pet cryptocurrency and AI social media platform ideas your brother's been pitching to investors. They're not just bad ideas, they're stolen ones. My blood ran cold. What do you mean? Your brother has been approaching Palmer Tech employees, pumping them for information about our upcoming projects. That AI social media platform, it's a crude copy of a project we've had in development for 2 years. He's been trying to beat us to market with stolen intellectual property. I felt sick. This was worse than Kevin's usual schemes. This was corporate espionage. How did you? We've been watching him, Wong said grimly. We have emails, recorded conversations, detailed documentation of his attempts to steal our proprietary information. The only reason we haven't pressed charges is because of you. Me? You're valuable to us, Sarah, more valuable than you know. We didn't want to put you in an impossible position with your family, but now, he slid a folder across the table. These are the documents proving your brother's corporate espionage attempts. What you do with them is up to you. I stared at the folder, my mind racing. With these documents, I could expose Kevin's true nature to my parents. Show them that their golden child was not just a failure, but a thief. But the thought made me wary rather than triumphant. Why are you telling me this? I asked finally. Because you deserve to know the truth, and because the position I'm offering you needs to be built on complete transparency. You'll be part of our executive team, privy to our most sensitive projects. You needed to know about your brother's activities. He pulled out another document, an employment contract. The salary figure made me blink several times to make sure I was seeing it correctly. The choice is yours, Wang said softly. You can take this position, present your proposals next week, and show everyone, including your family, exactly what you're capable of. Or you can walk away. Either way, the documents about your brother are yours to keep. I looked at the contract, then at the folder containing evidence of Kevin's crimes. 6 years of dismissed achievements, of being told I wasn't ambitious enough, of watching my parents pour money into my brother's schemes while treating my career like a disappointment. When is the investors' meeting? I asked. Wang smiled. Next Thursday. Your parents and brother will be there. I raised an eyebrow. They will. Mark invited them. He's been stringing your brother along, pretending to be interested in investing in his AI platform. He wanted witnesses to his big moment, presenting your ideas as his own. Ironic, isn't it? The pieces clicked into place. Kevin's smugness earlier, the dinner with important investors they were rushing off to. I picked up the pen Wang offered. One condition, I said, my voice steady. I want Mark there too. In the front row. Wang's smile widened. I wouldn't have it any other way. The week leading up to the investors' meeting passed in a blur of preparation. By day, I refined my presentation, working directly with James Wang to perfect every detail. By night, I ignored the increasing stream of messages from my family. Have you heard about Kevin's big meeting at Palmer Tech? My mother texted. Finally, someone recognizing his potential. Your brother's going to show you what real success looks like, came from my father. I let them all go unanswered. Let them think I was sulking about our fight. Let them believe I was jealous of Kevin's supposed big break. Thursday would change everything. The morning of the meeting, I arrived at Palmer Tech 2 hours early. The executive assistant, my executive assistant now, had laid out a crisp navy suit in my new office. The nameplate on the door read, Sarah Chen, Executive Vice President of Innovation and Strategy. The board members are arriving. Lisa from HR appeared at my door, grinning. And your family just checked in at reception. Your brother's wearing a suit that still has the price tag on it. I smoothed down my jacket, checking my reflection one last time. And Mark. Front row, as requested, he's been bragging to everyone about his revolutionary proposals all morning. The conference room was packed when I entered through the side door. Investors, board members, and senior executives filled the seats. In the front row, Mark sat with his usual smug expression, presentation remote in hand. Next to him, my parents and Kevin were dressed like they were attending the gala, my mother's designer dress and Kevin's new suit screaming trying too hard. James Wang stepped up to the podium. Thank you all for coming. Today's presentation will outline Palmer Tech's strategic vision for the next decade. These proposals represent months of innovative thinking and careful market analysis. He paused, his eyes finding mine. But first, we have a personnel announcement to make. My mother was already beaming at Kevin. My father sat up straighter. Please join me in welcoming Palmer Tech's new Executive Vice President of Innovation and Strategy, Sarah Chen. The room erupted in applause as I walked to the podium. Through the clapping, I heard my mother's confused "what?" and saw Kevin's face turn an interesting shade of red. Sarah has been instrumental in developing the proposals you'll see today, Wang continued. In fact, they are entirely her work, though some have tried to claim otherwise. Mark's smug expression vanished. He half rose from his seat, but Wang's sharp glance froze him in place. Sarah, the floor is yours. I took my place at the podium, clicking to my first slide. Thank you, Mr. Wang. Today, I'll be presenting 3 initiatives that will revolutionize not just Palmer Tech, but the entire industry. For the next 40 minutes, I laid out my vision, the same proposals Mark had dismissed as unrealistic, the same ideas my family would have called playing it safe. The room was silent except for the sound of furious note-taking and occasional murmurs of approval. I avoided looking at my family until the end. When I finally did, the expressions on their faces were almost comical. My mother sat frozen, her perfect makeup unable to hide her shock. My father kept glancing between me and Kevin as if trying to solve a complex equation. And Kevin looked like he was about to be sick. Finally, I said, reaching my last slide, I'd like to address something concerning market security. I clicked to a screen showing email exchanges and recorded meeting transcripts. We've recently uncovered evidence of attempted corporate espionage. Kevin stood up so fast he knocked his chair over. This meeting isn't joke, he shouted. She's just a project manager. She can't. Executive Vice President Wang corrected coldly. And I suggest you sit down, Mr. Chen. Corporate espionage is a serious federal offense. My mother found her voice. Sarah, what are you doing? Your brother has a real opportunity here. No, Mom, he doesn't, I replied calmly. What he has is documented evidence of attempting to steal proprietary information from Palmer Tech, information he planned to use for his so-called AI social media platform. That's my project. Kevin protested. I developed it myself. Really? I clicked to the next slide, showing Palmer Tech's original development timeline. Because we have documentation showing this project has been in development here for 2 years. We also have records of you approaching our employees for insider information. Mark chose this moment to try slipping out of the room. 2 security guards stepped in front of the door. Mr. Richards, Juan called out, please stay. We're not finished discussing how you attempted to present Ms. Chen's work as your own. The room erupted in whispers. I saw several investors leaning forward, suddenly even more interested. Sarah, my father stood up, using his stern voice, the one that used to make me feel 2 inches tall. Stop this nonsense immediately. You're just jealous of your brother's success. Success? I couldn't help but laugh. Dad, have you ever actually seen any of Kevin's supposed businesses? Have you ever met any of his employees, seen his product development, or checked where your investment money really went? My mother's face had gone pale. Kevin manages his businesses his own way. Kevin doesn't have any businesses, I cut in. What he has is a string of failed schemes and stolen ideas, and you've poured hundreds of thousands of dollars into them because you couldn't accept that your daughter's safe career choices might actually be worth something. You ungrateful. Kevin started toward the podium, but security stepped forward. Mr. Chen, Wang's voice could have frozen fire. I suggest you leave voluntarily before we have you escorted out. And I strongly recommend against approaching any other tech companies with stolen ideas. We will be watching. I watched as security led my sputtering brother out, my parents hurrying after him. Mark tried to follow, but Wang stopped him. Mr. Richards, stay. We need to discuss your termination paperwork. I turned back to the investors, many of whom were now smiling. Now let's discuss the actual implementation timeline for these proposals. The aftermath of the investors' meeting was like watching dominoes fall. By evening, my proposals had secured over $50 million in new investment funding. Mark was escorted out of the building, his company credentials revoked. And my phone was filled with missed calls and texts from family members, all of which I continued to ignore. 1 week later, I sat in my new corner office reviewing project timelines when Lisa knocked on my door. Your mother's in the lobby, she said. Again, that's the 3rd time this week. I sighed, setting down my tablet. What's she saying this time? The usual, that she needs to explain that there's been a misunderstanding. Lisa hesitated. She looks pretty rough, Sarah. Nothing like the woman who was here last week. I thought about the designer dress, the superior attitude, the way she'd always looked at me with barely concealed disappointment. Tell security to escort her out, same as before. After Lisa left, I walked to my window, looking out over the city. The past week had brought revelations I hadn't expected. An audit of Kevin's businesses revealed that most of our parents' investment money had gone to fund his lavish lifestyle. Expensive cars, trips to Vegas, designer clothes. He hadn't just stolen ideas, he'd stolen their retirement. My phone buzzed with a text from James Wang. Investors loved your proposal presentation. Asia Pacific expansion approved. Lead the project. I smiled, typing back a quick yes. A month ago, I would have run this by my family first, seeking approval I knew wouldn't come. Now, my office phone rang, the private line that only a few people had access to. Ms. Chen, my assistant's voice came through. Your father is here. He's asking for 5 minutes. I almost said no, Almost told him to send him away like all the others. But something in me hesitated. Send him up. When he walked in, I barely recognized him. Gone was the commanding presence that had dominated my childhood. He looked older, smaller, defeated. Sarah, he said softly, standing awkwardly by the door. This is quite an office. Do you need something, Dad? He flinched at my tone but stepped forward. Your mother and we've lost everything. Kevin, he swallowed hard. The police are investigating him for fraud, not just with Palmer Tech, but with all of it. The money we invested, our retirement savings. I know, I said. I saw the audit reports. Of course you did. He gave a hollow laugh. You always saw things clearly, didn't you? While we were blinded by what, Dad? By the dream of having a successful son instead of just a successful daughter. He sank into one of my visitor chairs, putting his head in his hands. We were wrong, Sarah. So terribly wrong. Not just about Kevin, but about you. About everything. I stayed silent, watching him. Your mother and were selling the house. Moving to something smaller. We have to start over. At our age. He looked up, meeting my eyes. I'm not here to ask for money. I know we don't deserve your help. I needed to tell you that I'm sorry. That I'm proud of you. That I should have been proud all along. Something tight in my chest loosened slightly. Not completely, but enough. There's a diner down the street, I said finally. They make decent coffee. I have 15 minutes before my next meeting. His eyes lit up with cautious hope. I'd like that. As we rode the elevator down, my phone buzzed with another text from Wong. Tokyo office wants to meet next week. Interested in some international travel? I smiled, typing back one word. Ready. Looking at my father's reflection in the elevator doors, him standing uncertainly in his worn suit, me in my crisp executive attire, I realized something profound. I'd spent years trying to prove myself to my family, seeking validation they couldn't give. But true success wasn't about proving anything to anyone. It was about proving it to yourself. You know, Dad, I said as the elevator reached the lobby, that coffee, it might take longer than 15 minutes. I have quite a story to tell you about where Palmer Tech is headed next. He smiled, a real smile, not the condescending ones I'd grown used to. I'd like to hear it, all of it. And for the first time in years, I believed him.